It's September 7th, 2025, and I just want to give a current events update, what the situation is right now, at least from my perspective. And so, a couple days ago, I was supposed to pick my neighbor up, take him to the airport, because he must have got a special deal to go to Las Vegas because, due to the tariffs and the economy, people are not coming to America, and people in America are not traveling. And so places like Las Vegas are giving special deals to try to pull some customers in. And he must have picked up one of those special deals. Anyway, I fell asleep before I was supposed to pick him up at 2:45, and I'm not sure what time I fell asleep, but it must have been around 1 o'clock or something. And I slept until like 4 o'clock, and there was nothing to wake me up. I wasn't thinking like I was gonna all of a sudden just fall asleep while I was watching something, taking a break, and then I just fell asleep. I felt really bad about that. I went over and talked to his son, who he can't drive on the interstate because he gets panic attacks because he's been in too many accidents where he almost got killed on the interstate. And now every time he drives on the interstate, he starts freaking out. So he can't drive his dad. Well, I didn't ever think in that detail. I heard somebody say that, he couldn't drive to the airport, but I didn't really know why. Anyway, I talked to him. He's the son of, he's Fred Jr. Not like Fred Flintstone, but like he's actually Fred Jr. Anyway, he made the comment to me, so you keep listening to that anti-Trump shit. See? He's my neighbor. Well, Fred Sr., I was actually looking forward to taking him to the airport because we always have a little bit of a political discussion. And I was hoping maybe I could enlighten him, straighten him out. Well, I had opportunity, to approach that adversity and that challenge in Fred Jr. And, he said to me, I hear you listen to that anti-Trump shit. Because, my TV's on my front porch and that's where I spend my time. And so, I started, Project 2025. And I conceded that it's not just the GOP, and it's definitely not the Democrats that are trying to make a bigger break in between the wealthy class and the poor class, or the working class, I should say. The working class is the poor class, though, by comparison to the wealthy class. All right, and the wealthy class would be, like the people that, have stock, for example. They got stock in big companies, and they make money off that, a lot of money, and they own basically the corporations. They are the shareholders, and a lot of them own. Like some of them, like Elon Musk. I think he owns the majority share of the stock in his company because his income for 1 year is as much income as the bottom 50% of America combined for a year. So anyway, and just to think how they, even Elon Musk, okay, he has SpaceX and he's got Tesla. Well, SpaceX has a lot of contracts and stuff with the government, and he can get and he was working in the government, and he's So, it's a class of elite. I mean, they rub shoulders. They work in the government. They own big companies. The whole thing, even like with Donald Trump's cryptocurrency now, he's making $1 million a day. He already made, I think they said, $5 billion just on the initial opening of his cryptocurrency. And so he's trying to overtake the Fed, so that he can, be in charge when it comes to the decisions that have to be made about the use of cryptocurrencies for federal business. Well, anyway, my thinking with my neighbor was going back to the primary causes, causes of the situation in America. And Donald Trump is somewhat of a figurehead. He's a puppet for, he's a player in this whole Project 2025 kind of attempted takeover of America. And basically it's by the GOP. So, look, I told him, look, I'm going to make a sign. I'm not really sure how I can actually say this and put it up on my sign, because I realize that it's not just enough to utilize emotional appeal and say something like out of a strong emotion, but, and that could be many different kinds of emotions. Strong emotion of being pissed off, strong emotion of wanting something better, the strong emotion of I don't know, the vicarious guilt of America, or it wouldn't be me, but I mean, like, if I was a white supremacist or a nationalist for a certain group of people, like the white people or something like that, an Aryan race, okay, well, then I would have also emotion. Wouldn't be my emotion, because that's not me, but it's a possibility. And I come to thinking that I got to actually say something that has some substance and that would actually make somebody think. Well, I went through a lot of different thoughts, and and the first one is addressing lies, because if it wasn't for all these lies and propaganda, because I could tell by talking to my neighbor that he listens to lies and he listens to narratives like from Fox News that are complete bullshit, and then he believes bullshit. He does believe bullshit, because I can tell already he listens to like Fox News. I mean, all you gotta do is listen to Fox News, and you know what they say, and it's worse than a slant. It's actually fraud. It's fraudulent. It's a complete bold-ass lie. A lot of stuff of what they say. And preposterous lies. Like, for example, okay, Donald Trump, raked in $17 trillion from the tariffs already. That is such a bold-ass lie that $17 trillion? If we raked in $17 trillion, well, we could knock off our I think it's, 5 trillion dollars in deficit now that we owe, that the working class is going to have to pay. And arguing with him about the fact that this big beautiful bill that Trump and Congress pushed through gives a tremendous amount of tax breaks to the wealthiest people, and then the people who are going to have to pay that is the working class. Okay? And that don't make any sense, because these people are so wealthy that it's absurd and obscene. The disparity between the rich class and the working class. I mean, they can fly jets from their location in one state to another state where they got another house to get something out of their freezer so they can eat it that night with their special guests. Anyway, that's how that rolls. I just wanted to so I'm not really actually sure what I was gonna say, but I do make notes, like I'm just gonna This is what I wrote a while back. I said, tell Donald Trump to rejoin the fight for democracy, rejoin NATO, support Ukraine, stop squeezing blood from the working class for billionaires, stop protecting pedophiles, and take Putin's dick out of your ass. Okay, I wrote that, I don't know, a while back, like, and I could just put up a sign and say, tell Trump that much. But then, I probably won't do that one. But then today I was thinking, about this thing, tune in, turn on, tune out, or something like that. I think it's a song from a long time ago, or a slogan. I think it might have been a slogan, actually, and it might have been for one of the presidential races. I don't know, something about tuning in, turning on, something like that. Anyway, I was thinking about that, and so I wrote, just trying to put some ideas down on paper. If you tune into the lie, if you tune into the lie, we will die too early. Point number one. Turn on, tune in, tune up to science, economics, and the strategies of war. Because look, all the lying and the propaganda, that's a war strategy. And so if you understand that, you understand that there's a certain aspect of society that's at war with another aspect of society. And basically, it's the rich and the poor, okay? Because the rich are obscenely rich, and they own everything, and they got all power to influence, okay? So they just feed the working class some shit. Okay, they just keep shoveling them shit, and they just keep eating this shit, and they think that their fights and everything and they're throwing shit balls at each other, and they think their fights are actually democracy when they ain't got nothing to do with the leadership, with where the leadership of the world is taking us, and the leadership of the world is the rich class. Yeah. Anyway, so we are, and then there's the last thing I wrote. We are at war. Think critically. It is fair to lie in war, because all is fair in love and war. It is fair to lie in war. If we do not win the war against truth, and then my buddy Tim called me. But if we do not win the war against truth, because what's really the real fight is fight for truth. And if you're being fed a bunch of shit, and you got your mind occupied, in a game of tiddlywinks, when actually, there's some real players are, thinking in strategies like, you would use playing chess. You gotta think a couple moves ahead and stuff. And they just keep up the smoke blowing up in the air, and nobody can see anything. But anyway, I need to put something on my sign that's actually meaningful, and that's what I'm trying to think about right now. So my last thought actually was, just putting up there, because I don't even know if anything really matters anymore. Just putting up there, it's a poem I read in one of my professors. I went in his office, and in the waiting area there, he had a sign on the wall that said, "We the willing, led by the unknowing, have been doing so much with so little for so long that we are now qualified to do anything with nothing." So I might just put that up there, and then underneath that say, make one point, like I don't know what, don't believe in bullshit. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Get rid of Fox News. Something like that, I don't know. Maybe all three of those things. Who knows? But anyway, this is what's going on, like on my news feed right now. I'm just looking at it today. Hey, okay. The first thing is this guy here, and he says, let's see, orange is the new red. Trump's Intel Inquisition. He's trying to buy Intel. Or I mean, he's getting government to have shareholding 10%. Whoops, I'll go down. And then This is Alan Watts here. Let it hurt, let it heal, let it go. I heard Alan Watts when I was in graduate school. I listened to one of his lectures, and he said there's more space in matter than there is matter. And he said something always comes from nothing. And this is an idea, you know, that I didn't talk about. But and look, I don't know what this other one is here. You know, shock. It must be something with AI, but I'm not into this popular stuff like that. Then Heather Cox Richardson explains how Donald Trump MAGA and how something to save America. I don't want to go down, okay? And then here they got seeing the true reality would kill us. Top psychologist Donald Hoffman, seeing true reality. Well, the header is seeing true reality would kill us. And this other guy next to him, neurosurgeon, speak out on the hidden war on, well, I don't know what that is. I hope I am wrong. Okay, talking about a hidden war. And then here's one, Neil Ferguson, on how Trump is changing America and the world. And this is an interview with Charlie Rose. So, and then go down one more. Let's see, this one here is, I don't know what this is. Okay. Young and Pauli, the unfinished theory that could probably change the world. I don't know. Unus Mundus 137. I don't know what that means. I'm kind of curious though. And then Trump 2-0, Epstein, January 6th, fascism. Trump, Epstein, and immigration raids. Okay. Immigration raids, fascism, that's a big deal. Epstein, Donald Trump, and sexual blackmail. And that's from Chris Hedges. I showed one of his ones before, Chris Hedges. Okay, look here. And this guy, I listen to him. I listen to him a lot. Let's see. A desperate economy. The economics of dying empire with Richard Wolff. Okay, Richard Wolff is an economist that I listen to a lot. And then I also listen to Chris Hedges. And so that should be a really interesting one. I'm going to have to look at that pretty quick. And then this one here. Okay, this is an absolute truth. Hire clowns, expect a circus. Ezra Klein with Thomas L. Friedman. Why Trump could lose his trade war with China. Ezra Klein. And then the last one over here. American Authoritarian Slide. This is Ezra Klein with Zach Beauchamp and Andre Maratz. Is Trump losing a debate? Is Trump losing a debate? Ezra Klein show. All right. And we got here, look, top 3 alien mysteries of summer 2025. Ancient aliens. They left us a message. China versus U.S. Inside the military buildup. And this war destroys. Trump just lost. Putin and China dump dollar. New BRICS war. Danny Haiphong. Well, Danny Haiphong's a young guy, and he's pretty smart. He actually did his homework in graduate school. I've listened even to Danny Haiphong. I think I've listened even to him interview Jeffrey Sachs. Like these are some of the top thinkers, and you know some of the people that are really smart are young, and they don't have to be old like me to be smart. But anyway, I guess this might be the last one. Here, look, I'm just gonna read it. This is right on down my feed anyway. The Breakdown with Rick Wilson and Maya May. International disgrace. Rick Wilson used to be a Republican. Okay. And that Rick Wilson, that's the Lincoln Project. Okay, the long road. Anti-MAGA comedian destroys the cult for an hour. Anti-MAGA comedian destroys the cult for an hour. Well, that should be some good comic relief. And then, you know, Trump issues shock escalation against Democrats. Brian Tyler Cohen. He's from the Midas Touch Network. I listen to him too. Okay, look. Richard Wolff. The empire in collapse. China builds rival system. Richard Wolff, U.S. empire in collapse. China builds rival system. That must be an interview from Glenn Deason to Richard Wolff, the economist, that I listen to a lot. Okay, can things get better? How do we get out of this mess? Robert Reich. And then Orwell, A Warning to Mankind. George Orwell, A Warning to Mankind documentary. I'm going to end it right there. That is actually where I need to look, because I haven't read, I know there's an Orwell movie, you know, that and books, of course, you know, that talk about, like, I hear people saying this is very Orwellian. Okay, I know what Orwellian is. You know, it is using, you know, broad scale deception. All right, but I don't really know firsthand because I never seen the movie. But this one here, Orwell, A Warning to Mankind, from 2 years ago. The people profiles. Anyway, so that's it. You know, I have more in my feed, but you know, it might change by tomorrow, and there's only so many things I can actually look at. But you know, my update for my journal is today simply what's going on and where I'm at right now, because I was feeling like in my thinking about what it is I want to put on my sign, and even if I even want to do a sign, you know, but how can I not? When I look at the stuff that's actually going on, how can I not say something? But if I'm going to say something, I got to make it, you know, worthwhile. I mean, I definitely don't want to make it destructive. I want to make it constructive, but how am I going to persuade somebody, see? Is it going to be through emotional appeal? Is it going to be through debate? Is it going to be through just presenting the facts? Is it going to be through exposing the lies? You know? I don't know. I mean, I got to tune in to something or another. And that's where I started thinking about tuning in and turning it on and turning it off, like that. Turn off the bullshit, tune in to reality and what's really going on, and then turn it up. So I got to tune in to something constructive, and I got to turn it up. That's how I can put something on the side, if I do. But anyway, it's documenting, you know, my own struggle at this point. And if I am talking to you, my grandchildren, some time, you know, down the road, and maybe, you know, you look at this and maybe you're in graduate school or something like that, and you're doing a paper, you can consider me as a primary source, okay, of one person's experience in the midst of a whole bunch of other people, like my next door neighbor, for example, Fred. Fred and Fred Jr., Fred Sr. and Fred Jr. telling me, you listening to that anti-Trump shit? Anti-Trump shit? You realize how different his cognitive perception of reality is than mine? That's why that one thing on here, you know, with the alien looking eye or something, you know, said if you knew what the truth was, it'd kill you. I should probably watch that one. Some people say that they actually know what the ethereal truth is, you know, like the meaning of our existence and everything like that, and what happens after we die, and aliens, and, you know, maybe we were planted here from, you know, a meteor hitting the earth you know. So and then the liquid stuff, you know, melted. The stuff melted and turned into water, and out from that water came the seeds of life. Okay. Look how it all happened. That's what they're looking at. And when you consider the fact that there's more space in matter than there is matter, for example, like if you look at something at a microscopic level, and then you'll see there's more and more space. What holds everything together is actually energy. Like this, you know, is, you know, to me, solid, but actually it's not solid. And there's more space in matter, and it's just energy that holds things together. And so what we have is a certain field of perception. And that's true all the way from the body to even the vision of, and what energy actually is and all that. And so the scientists today, you know, when they look into actually what things really are, is baffling, and it leads to a lot of conjecture and suspicion about, you know, if we really know what the hell's really going on. Yeah. So that's what I call this one, you know. What's going on? What's really going on? Let's say what's really going on. Because after all, that is the point that I'm trying to make to you, my grandchildren, you know. Is you always got to try to think about, you know, what's really going on. What's really going on here? You got sleight of hand, you know. You got a distraction over here, so that it is like a magician, you know, puts a distraction over here so that he can really do the trick, you know, implement the trick. And so nobody sees it, and they think, wow, how did you do that? That's what I'll call this talk right here. How did you do that?